Well, we got a kit in. Got ourselves a head. There's our head. It's from Zoom Zoom. Whoever that is, whatever that is. Came with a huge tube of silicone high temp gray, some thread locker, and the cap was open, so, oh no, probably got to cut the end off, and a new spark plug, CR7F. Got our base gasket and our head gasket, and we've got our cylinder and piston. There's a wrist pin. Now there's no instructions. So that means I'm probably going to do what I do on the Zumas. That looks like that is a great fit there. That is a nice fit. So let's get the piston out, the rings, and we got a crosshatch hone on there. So first things first, we got to get the piston installed, and I'm going to go ahead and put the base gasket on right now, and then we'll set the piston in once the rings are on. And since there's no instructions, I'll probably go gap here, second ring gap here, and then the oil rings various areas. And let's get that done. Cut open this package with the rings in it. Alright, so we've got some assembly lube. And I don't know, oil's probably just as good, but I use assembly lube. We'll get some oil, some lube here on the oil ring, the spreader ring. And there's the two other rings that go on either side. And we'll just get it all in there, all into these grooves. I don't think it makes a difference, but I'm going to put the split that's in the spreader ring on the exhaust and make sure it's not overlapped. Make sure it's just sitting in there, butted up against each other. And then these, there's no markings or anything on them, so they just look like they're just going to go on either side of this spreader ring. And I'm going to do 180 degrees out, so I'll go 180 degrees. One ring will have its gap here and the other will have its gap here. Alright, so the oil rings are on, and my gap is right there on the top. The gap in the middle one's here, and the gap on the bottom one is right there. So the top and the bottom oil ring are 180 degrees across from each other, and then I'm going to do 180 on the two top rings, so they're offset from the oil ring also. Now this kit doesn't specify what goes on what, and the more I look on YouTube at all the videos, they're putting the darker ring below. There's no dot or anything to indicate up or down, so it just goes on, and then that's the top ring. And there you go. And there is the lower compression ring. the gap right here, which is looking forward from the bike, right hand side. And then the top compression is right there on the side. So intake is up, right hand for the bottom compression ring and left hand for the top. That's what I'm doing. You know, I'm sure you could put it in either way, but you wouldn't want the gaps to be straight up and down with each other. I test fit the wrist pin, and it's a snug fit. It's the proper size. Now I'm going to put a little assembly lube in the cylinder bore. More. And that'll make it. Give it a little lube. Not exactly sure if that's the proper setup, but that's what I'm going to do. And so install one side, one clip on one side, and I made it, of course I put it on the, no, I put it on the right side. So intake is up, and check your gaps again. With the assembly lube, things don't move around too much unless you really move them. There we go. So you got the one clip on there. That piston and try and hold the connecting rod up. Find the connecting rod, push it on in, and there, that is in. And I see the track for the clip, so it's in all the way. And just have to find the right set of needle nose. And if it springs out on you, it's going to fall on the floor and you'll never find it. And there it is. So I'm going to spin it so the open gap is opposite of the little slot. There's a slot right here, and I want most of the ring to be in that slot. So the gap is over here, and same on the other side. So I've got the alignment shims. There's one here and one here. Sneak it past the piston. And they will countersink into the head. I can see here, actually, it looks to me like there's the two holes, and that's there and there. I'm also using the old washer for the oil return. So just last check, base gasket down here, you can't see it, but the little rubber O-ring for the oil return that comes down through there, the two dowels, alignment dowels, and the piston. All right, so I have the piston is in. I believe that I didn't do anything as far as, you know, boogering up the rings or anything. there's a little resistance to it, and it slides. So I'm going to feed the cam chain through. And bring the piston down. And try and seat that cylinder. Just like so. And what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to set this bolt just snug so that we can give it a couple revolutions and just make sure that everything is operating right. And if I hold the cam chain here, it's going down, coming back up. Down and back up. Everything's looking good. Intake is up. I've put in many a piston with the intake down. So this is a good one. And what I have here are the alignment dowels. And it looks like they're crisscross. And so exhaust. So this looks like it right here. And right here. Yeah. Then this is the oil return off of the original head. So I'm going to put that in. Hold it in there. And there's a ring, a washer that goes right in there. It kind of presses it. I'm going to have to watch that. And now the head can go on. And I don't know about the gaps or whatnot, but certainly want to put a little assembly lube here on the cam and the arms. And I believe I've got to pull it apart to get the head on because I'm going to have to put the cam chain on. Okay, you've got to get the cam chain sprocket out. And we're at top dead center. And I'm gonna go over the other side there and I'm gonna see if I can eyeball it. Okay, put a little bit more assembly lube on bearings, on the valves, in here. So I've got what I think is a little bit of insurance. And we've got the head gasket on with the O-ring set in place there. And I'm going to fiddle with that a little bit more until I like it. Actually, I think that looks pretty good right there. And we're going to feed the cam chain up through here and slide the head on. Okay, I had to pull this cover off, and these dowels that hold the rockers, one was in backwards, but there's a threaded end that you can thread a bolt in there and you can pull them out and that releases the rocker. But anyhow, so now they're back in. They were out here blocking this hole for these studs. So should be able to put this on now. Feed the cam chain through. Yeah, exactly. That's how it's supposed to go, right? your O-ring falls out. Of course, if I had a brand new fresh one, then it probably wouldn't have fallen out. Now I'll go on the other side and get the cam chain right. Okay, I've got a hold of the cam chain, and I just want to make sure that that O-ring is seated properly. And I believe that is. So, pull this up. If I can get the cam sprocket on, probably not. So, I'll leave the sprocket where it is. Definitely one way that this cover goes on and the gasket. There's an arrow pointing up. I don't know, China might point down. You never know. So let's get lined up. Can't see it, but I'm putting in a bolt that is on the side of the head just to kind of keep it there till I can get the head bolts on. Alright, well, the first thing that I noticed is I don't have the cam chain wheel in the cylinder. So back off the head comes, and I'll put that in. Alright, this cam chain and this cam sprocket was not coming up to meet this shaft here. It was like as if the cam chain was too small, or this aftermarket head was too long, or whatever. And then I found out it has a cam chain tensioner, which is down here. You can't see it, but it's a piston that goes up into this hole, and then the spring presses on it, and this pushes the spring up on the cam chain tensioner. So the minute I took that off, everything lined up. So what I've got here, get all that washer off of here. I'm going to spin this around, and seems like everything is okay. And I'm going to line up the timing mark. And it wants to kind of bounce back, so I'll hold it. And I believe the mark is right where it's supposed to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some red Loctite on these nuts. I know they gave me this. I'm sure this is just a fake Chinese. I'm going to use my stuff on it. All right, those are not torqued. I have not torqued these. I'm going to find the torque. I found the torque from these is supposed to be 9 pounds on the head gasket or head bolts. And also there's a copper washer that goes over here. And if you look at the other side cover, you can see that this is like an oil galley. So that's that. And so we have the plunger. It's already in. I'll pull it back out to show you. It's got a rubber end on it. I'm sure that just rides on the cam chain. Or it pushes onto a plastic piece that rides on the cam chain. So that goes up in there. Spring goes up in there. Washer. And the bolt. And there we go. And this thing was loose. So someone was in this motor, in the cam chain, in the top end. God knows what they did. But there's that. Okay, it's time to torque the head. 100 to 110 inch-pounds. That is not very much. Thank goodness, because for some reason the threads on these studs, I got a feeling they're going to be bottoming out. Now maybe they'll start turning in the head or in the case if they start to bottom out on the acorn nuts. Just kind of go back and forth in crisscross pattern. And there we are. All right, this is the cam chain follower, whatever you want to call it. It's a roller in there. That's 88 inch-pounds. These are inch-pounds. And then the cam chain sprockets are 80. Now I went 70, 75. It seemed a little tight simply because this is an aftermarket. If it was Honda, I'd probably take it right down to spec. If I did a little lighter, it's got the locking, you know, the red thread locker on it, so it's not going anywhere. And these bolts, I need to put this in, tighten these, and they're probably about 80. I skipped ahead quite a bit because what I did was adjust the valves and I put the exhaust on, the carburetor on, but you've seen that in previous videos. So now I'm going to put the tank on it and try and start it. All right, well, I had it started, but the exhaust was loose and it idled a little low, so, but also be sucking a lot of air. I didn't do any of the gaskets or anything, but it runs. Okay, well, I got it up to a temperature that's good for the initial start, and so to break these little motors in, I typically will run them for 3-4 minutes, let it get a little heat built up, then let it cool completely down. Or just let it cool down for 5 or 10 minutes, start it back up again and go almost double that time. And then just slowly do a little more and a little longer, a little more. And somewhere in there I'm going to readjust the valves just to make sure, because the the quality on these Chinese cylinder heads, I'm probably not going to be near as good as the Honda, but I don't know. I mean, it starts, it's running, and so probably I'll just wait till tomorrow to start it again, and maybe even get the seat on it, the shifter, buzz it around a little bit and see how it works. The carburetor definitely needs a lot of adjustment, but it's running. It's just probably the rings haven't even begun to seat. All that stuff needs to all kind of come around, so we'll work on that a little bit more. I just got back from riding it around the block, and everything works really well. Surprisingly, the suspension works really well. No leaking, no fork seal leaks. I cleaned it my normal way. That's on my videos somewhere. One of my videos shows an in-depth, detailed clean. And it's going to come out really nice. The shine of the frame, the shine of the wheels, it's all good. So at this point, I'm going to try to put together an order for parts that I need. The first thing I need is an ignition switch. Now I could reconnect these two wires into the ignition switch wiring loom here, and then just get a locksmith to make me a set of keys. So I'm going to just see what the cost is for just the set of keys. There'll be a Honda key, which I like. It's stock, it'll look great. And a few other little miscellaneous parts. We'll get that order going. I completely cleaned the air cleaner, the foam, and I re-oiled it. Got the little baffle that's next to go on. Front fender's on. The rear chain guard, the side cover. Air box is on. It was a little difficult to put on. Got a new drain line. I always think that looks very nice to have something clear to look at. Tank's all clean. Side covers and the bolts. New washers and bolts. Those always get missing. People take the tank off and just throw them on the ground, lose the bolts and lose the washers, whatever. Throw anything else at it that they got in the garage. So ready for the side covers. I really like the Honda original seats because they really can clean up nice. I mean, this seat looks brand new. So next to put it on. And we're almost done. We've got the side covers are on. The tank's on. And got it all looking stock and new, except for one thing, the front number plate. So I'm going to clean it up. I've already cleaned it up. I'm going to get all this black off. And then a trick I do when these are broken, I will just take and I'll use a utility knife and I'll cut this off, because no one really knows that this isn't there. And this doesn't have a bar pad on it. So that's the last thing to do. Well, this one was a lot of fun, and it went together pretty easily, pretty nicely. It looks great. Everything's shiny, nice and detailed. The seat's beautiful. And all it needs is a clown from Shingletown. You know, I'd like to see about a 300-pound clown, and I know the Honda could take it. And I know that if I put that offer out there, they probably would even come to Reno to ride this. That's just the way they are in Shingletown. They are, you know, that when they get something in their craw, boy, it doesn't go away. And this one's in great shape. So I've got a handful of things left. And I'll just do those. I'm going to finish this video up because it really doesn't matter. You can barely see it. Got to redo the key ignition, a new key ignition, new grips, the Honda emblem that goes right up here, and the Honda emblem that goes on the back right here. There was one other thing, but I can't remember what it was. But that's enough. So this one's got a brand new top end, and it's the Chinese. Sure, it's Chinese. I mean, they never tell you it is or isn't. But it runs beautifully. This is also a one-kick bike now, and boy, does it run good. I'm just amazed at how well it runs. Now, I don't know how long it'll run, but it sounds like that they've done their homework. So, you know, I would say, let's see, let's turn it on and watch this. So when you're out there in the parade, you know, whoever one-armed Aaron, the 300-pound clown from Shingletown, when he's out there, all he's got to do is kick it once, and it'll sit and idle. It'll just sit and idle there in the parade in Shingletown. You know, by the diner. They just got the diner, and that's about it. They're in Shingletown, so he can go back and forth in front of the diner with his clown suit on this one. So let's hear it from everyone in Shingletown. I'll deliver it out there. But anyhow, that's a great sounding motor. It just drops right back down to an idle. Great little bike. So I'm glad that it went together so nice, and it was a good break from the GT185 because the plating has been giving me fits. The plating is just difficult. So this was nice because it was straightforward, and now it's done. So thank you for viewing the video, and if you like it, give me a thumbs up and subscribe. There'll be plenty of more bikes as soon as I can find them, which that's really tough because I can't really rebuild a bike that's not dead. So until next time, thank you for watching.